video tutorial, we will use the Java library to create the date-time picker that you see on your screen. This date-time picker renders a drop-down calendar where the user can select a date by double-clicking on it. They can also type in the date, and when the calendar picker drops, the date they've given will be visible and selected. The calendar renders when the user presses a button. We use Eclipse on the development IDE, and we create a Java project and name it Date-Time Picker. Then we create a new subfolder called libs. There we will copy the Java scheduler library. We will need to add the Java scheduler jar file to this project. We go to the MindFusion webpage for the JScheduler and download the trial version. When we unzip it, we can see the jplanner.jar archive in the topmost folder. We copy it. We navigate to the src folder, which is in the Date-Time Picker project folder in the Eclipse workspace. We go to the libs subfolder and paste it. Then we refresh the project tree in Eclipse. The jar is there, but it is not included in the project yet. We right-click on the project name, choose Properties, Java Build Path, and then in the Libraries tab, we click on Add External Jars. Now we navigate to the jplanner.jar. Then click on Choose and Close button. Now we can import classes from the scheduler library into our project. We create two classes. First is the main window class, which is the start window of the application. Then the calendar window class, which will hold the scheduler that will drop. Main window extends JFrame. We add a reference to JFrame, and then we create a new instance of the J-formatted text field. It will render the chosen date. We will set the format to Date Format Short. This means the date will be rendered in the format month, day, the last two digits of the year. We create the main method of our program. It is nothing special, the standard program entry point where we create a new runnable, and in the run method, we initialize a new instance of the main window class in a try and catch block. Now let's add the default constructor for the main window class. We set the default operation to exit on close. Then we set the size and the title of the window. Java Date Time Picker. Next, we get the content pane of this JFrame and set the flow layout as the layout manager of it. Why do we choose the flow layout? Let's look at the visual guide of layout managers. What we need is handled exactly with the flow layout. We would like the order of layout of our components to be from left to right. Then we set the current date as the initial value of the formatted text field and change its size to one with larger width. Finally, we add it to the content pane. Let's add the button. It is of type JButton. We add it to the content pane. Let's run the application. By now, it must show the text field and the button placed as we want. Here they are. Now we need to deal with the calendar window. The calendar window also extends JFrame. It will use Mind Fusion Calendar Library, so we create an instance of the calendar class. It is a global instance for this class because we will access it in several methods. We add the default constructor, and there we specify the default closing operation and the size of the JFrame. This frame will be smaller than the main window. Let's set a theme for the calendar, the light theme. We take the content pane of the JFrame and we assign it a new layout. This time we will use the border layout. Its center alignment fills all the available space with a component that has it. In our case, this will be the calendar. Let's make the calendar window appear when the user clicks on the button. In the main window class, we create an instance of calendar window. Then we add an action listener to the button and handle the action performed event. Then we get the location of the text field and set it as a location for the calendar window. Finally, we render the window. Let's run the application and see what we've done so far. We click on the button and the calendar appears. It doesn't look like a drop-down calendar, so we will hide the title bar of the calendar window. We use the Set Undecorated method to achieve this. Let's run the application again. Now the calendar looks like it should. We need a variable in the calendar class that will hold the information of the selected date. It will be of type Java, util calendar. We add 1. Note now that we need to change the date in the text field when the user selects a new date in the calendar and vice versa. When the user types in a new date, if the date is correct, it should appear as selected in the calendar if the user decides to render it. A good way to do this is for the calendar window to raise event that the selected date property has changed. In order to do this, we must add property change support instance to our calendar window class. We initialize the property change support and now we need to add a property change listener to our property change support object. Now we will handle the mouse click event of the calendar to get the date, which the user has double-clicked. We add a new mouse listener with a new instance of the mouse adapter class. We use the mouse event class to get the count of clicks. If there are 2, we ask the calendar which date corresponds to the clicked location on screen. Then we create a new Java util calendar and set its year, month, and date to the year, month, and date values that are in the MindFusion date time object. There is one detail. We need to subtract 1 from the month value because the Java util calendar class counts the months starting from 0, in contrast to the MindFusion month values, which start from 1. Now we need to add the setter method from the selected date property. There we copy the old value and assign the new value to the selected date variable. Then we fire the property change event to inform all listeners that the value of the selected date property has changed. We include in the method call the old and new value of the property. Let's not forget to call the setter in the mouse click event handler. The main window needs to listen to the changes in the property, and we make it implement Property Change Listener. In the property change method, we check if it is our property, which has fired the change. If yes, we get its value and get its date representation. Finally, we assign the value to the text field. We need to now add the Property Change Listener to the calendar window instance in the main class. Now let's run the application. When we select a calendar date by double-clicking on it, the date appears in the text field. Note that when we click just once on a calendar cell, nothing happens. But if we change the calendar date in the text field and open the calendar, the newly typed date is not selected. Let's change that. Before we open the calendar window, let's take the value of the text field. Then we need to add a method where we will assign it to the calendar date picker. We don't want to use the selected date property setter because it will raise the event that the value has changed. The main window will be notified of the change and handle the event, which is unnecessary. The change was triggered by the main window in the first place. Let's add a new method called resetSelection that accepts a date parameter in the method body. We need to first reset the current calendar selection. Then we add the date that is typed in the text field to the selection. This will mark it selected, but won't necessarily bring it into the view of the user once they open the calendar. In order to do this, we need to tell the calendar to scroll to it. The method for this is setDate. Let's see the final version of the Java Date Time Picker. When the drop calendar appears, the current date is selected. We select another date by double-clicking on it. Now let's type another year and another month. We open the Date Time Picker, the date is selected. Let's choose another date by double-clicking on it. It appears once again in the text field. We change the date in the text field and bring the calendar. The newly typed date is there. Everything works as it should. And that's the end of our video tutorial. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your interest in MindFusion Developer Tools.